you mentioned the news about Dre coming back. I have a feeling that, like, because I don't know. I feel like the Warriors and the league behind the scenes have like an actual thing in mind, but they're not like letting the public know. But I just sort of feel like the timing of when Dre comes back is also dependent on if they're winning games, right? And so, you know, tonight's 11. We know he's not going to play tomorrow night. That's 12 games. And then before they start that little like stand go away, like the away game,
a mini road trip,
right? The last game of the homestand would be the 14th game. So I don't know if he comes back at all during this homestand or if they bring him back during the road trip. But because, you know, you got to give him time to like ramp up. They said he's going to like come over the weekend. So I figure like this week, you know, next week or whatever, he's going to like sort of be ramping up in there, I guess. So I don't know. I always thought it was going to be around 15 games. Maybe it'll be a little shy of that, but I think it's going to be like late next week or sometime on that homestand. I mean, the away that he returns. Did you look at the schedule? What did you think?
The schedule, let me pull it up really quick. So that would be either like Chicago or Milwaukee. That's a back-to-back.
Back-to-back.
So probably not coming back on that one. It would be hilarious.
After that.
He's probably coming back MLK Day against Memphis in Memphis, which is what the NBA probably wants, right? Got Mr. 25 Gamer versus Mr.
So fucking
Ja versus Draymond. It's the suspension bowl.
The suspension bowl.
This is crazy. See, the NBA script is crazy.
Ja's gonna be so extra. We know this team always gives Draymond problems.
Well, maybe.
And he's going to have to be on his bestest behavior because they will be looking to, they'll have a whole thing, you know, little pep talk before, like, look, he's just getting back, guys. So make sure to really stick it to him, force his hand so he could just bug out and then he's out.
Look, I think the Warriors are wedded to Draymond for better or for worse, at least for the near future, foreseeable, meaning definitely for the rest of this season. No one's taking him, like, even if there was a retrade. It's not happening this year. I don't know if it's going to happen at all, but what did you guys make of the comments that they sort of have been making in response to questions about Dre? They're innocuous, but they still sound kind of weird, right? Like, we haven't spoken to him really. Like, we're just giving him his space and he's giving us our space. Like, if you just said he's giving like your space, I would have said, okay. But it's also giving us our space. And I'm like, just perk up a little bit. I pay a very close attention to word choice and how people explain things. And again, it's sort of innocuous, but I still felt like there was a little something there. But maybe that's just wishful thinking on my part. What did you think, Kariemah?
Well, Justin and I did touch on that last episode, and I was saying, no, there is something there. To me,
Justin doesn't think so.
It sounds like, no, he kind of was on that too. Like, I was like, no, it's definitely sounding to me that Kerr is like, he ain't doing the work like he should be doing. So it's best that he not, mix in with us until he actually
partying with LeBron in LA. I saw people saying that, but I wasn't paying attention.
He went to his party. Yeah. And you know what? Look, that's fine. You can go to your birthday party.
It's not fine because optically it really doesn't look good.
Right. Optically.
Right. But if you can't even in that moment realize that and not do it, to me, that's problematic.
Kind of just be like, you know what? I'm going to come through another day just because you know what I'm going through right now. And if I just pop by like the next day after the party, just to be like, happy birthday, dude, because, they're besties at this point, so they do that.
Do the Lakers
But-
want him? Are there some players we can get?
That's funny. I'll take Anthony Davis, but but I was listening to the All 82, Marcus and Slater, and they were saying that they think it's actually like the NBA that is kind of like telling them to do that, you know, saying like they're getting our space and we're getting his space, whatever the case may be. He's pretty much saying like there's something behind the scenes that the NBA has implemented, or they're just, I mean, they're speculating, they're not confirming, but they're saying like maybe there's something the NBA is like, yo, we're going to say it's indefinite, but it's 12, it's
Right.
13, and just kind of beat around the bush until you get to that point. But it's, you know, this is the number, and maybe that's what it is, but who knows?
Yeah, there's definitely a number that's already been pre-decided on. That I believe.
Yeah. And then we had a tweet from Dumas earlier today, pretty much saying like Draymond's in good spirits and all this, kind of like happy, like framing
He's in a good
of it.
mental place.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, they're framing it.
But
as
I've
if
heard
it's,
this
like, all
before.
good. You know, so
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it is all good. Who knows? Maybe it's not.
It is not all good.
Yeah, I don't think it's all good either. But I also think that the team is just like spiraling, not necessarily spiraling, but like just in a bad place right now. So,
And with Gary going down too
Yeah.
again, it's just like can't catch
one
a
thing,
break.
can't catch a break. And one thing about the whole Draymond thing with the Warriors is always like, yeah, we probably rather not deal with this, but we kind of need you on the court. And it's like, I guess we find ourselves in that situation again,
Yeah.
right?
But there becomes a point that you don't keep doing the same thing, right?
Yeah.
And it's not working. And that's why I keep saying like people gotta like at some point wrap their heads around this looking completely different. And I get the one side of the argument where it's like you can't change up things too much because you got to take time to build and do all, but I don't know that you do. Like you have Steph Curry and you get the right next person next to him and you throw in pieces like, you know what I'm saying? Like not every team needs 7-8 years together to build to get something together. I mean, again, I'm not, you know, the Lakers when they just won whatever year they won. And I get it. You know, I'm one of the people who talks about the bubble. So, but I'm just saying, like, it's not, they were just in the Western Conference Finals after, you know, and yes, it's been a few more years, but my point is like, look at how many new pieces they had. My simple point is that I just don't believe you can keep doing the same thing over and over and expect it to change.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I know.
That.
I'm not saying I know what the answer is, but you can't keep doing the same thing over and over and expect it to be okay. It's not. So they're gonna have to make real decisions about this team. Is it obviously Steph is not trying to like rebuild in his prime. You want to try to give him a chance, but I think you have to realistically say, is there a way we can give him a chance? Is there a path to that doesn't include Draymond? Is there a path to that doesn't include Clay? Because they have to trade those guys because like they're not going to be under the cap, right? Enough. And like who's desperate enough to do it? And I say desperate because you have to be a little desperate to want to take on Draymond just because of all he comes with. You know, Clay's a little different because I mean, I don't know how teams would value Clay right now, right? And so maybe they won't do it, but I'm just saying I think you have to sincerely ask the question. That's all I'm saying. I think you have to, because their contracts are the largest, right? And so that's what you have as a trade piece.
Yeah.
One of them. I'm not saying both of them. And maybe like I don't know what the options are, but they have to consider it.
Yeah, I think you take it into consideration and see what you get. And if it doesn't make a ton of sense, like I just feel like if you trade either or both of those guys, you got to be getting back some type of like star.
You got to right. You got to get back
You
something.
got to get a star for either one of them or both, or else it's not going to work. Or else you're just making your team worse just to get these guys off the team.
Agreed.
Yeah.
But I've always said, like, I feel like if they're going to try to do a big trade, it has to be for a second star, for Steph. And I don't know the way to make that happen. I don't think it's giving up all of your young pieces, I think you need to keep some of them for flexibility, financial reasons, all these kinds of things, so I just don't know.
Yeah. I look at it like, if you want a second star, then first and foremost, you probably want that second star to play next to all three of them, because that's the way it makes the most sense to me, right? Like, Klay would be one of the better third options in the league. So if you just trade him for a second star, you leave the void of the third option open. And then Draymond is kind of like a good connective piece where he don't really need the ball. He just plays defense, and all the other three guys can just score. And then teams aren't giving up a star for either one of those two guys, I don't think. No. So it's just kind of like, all right, they probably got to stay. That's how I view it. But like the whole Draymond thing is like, you don't want to keep dealing with it. But
I mean, yeah, like I don't think he has to stay because like that you've told me that before. Everyone keeps telling me that before, and he hasn't fucking been playing with the team all season. Like, I'm not trying to be funny, but it's just like, to me, this is not about basketball and what fits. And that's what I've been trying to say since the Jordan Poole thing happened, right? I've been listening to everybody tell me the basketball reasons why Dre needs to be on the court. And I'm telling y'all the personnel reasons. I'm telling you the human element factor reasons, right? I knew from the moment that fucking punch happened, it was ending the Warriors. I tried to be positive. I tried to do all the things. No, they'll be able to get past it. Like, how do you get past someone punching you and working with them and doing all of that? They did not get past it. Now they get rid of, Jordan, right? They do a lot of bullshit, kicking him, on the way out the door, right? And so now, you don't think they could have used Jordan in some of these games? He would look a lot different in Golden State than he's looking right now on the Wizards. So you got rid of him, and Draymond's not around, bro. Mm-hmm. He's not around, and he's volatile. And because we know that no one is fixed in 14 or 15 games, and if it is fake and it is bogus and you're really not going to therapy, and this is all just it was always performative to begin with, but if nothing is really done, then what's going to change? What's going to stop him? It's like believing that Kerr is going to play Moody because he finally says, oh, yeah, he needs to be in the rotation. When people tell you who they are, when they show you who they are, you got to believe them. Draymond has showed us endlessly. And I think, I feel like, I know a lot of people don't, mess with Tim Kawakami, but I think one of the smartest things he said, and I agreed, maybe because I agree with him, and I always thought that too, and I just didn't say it first, but he's like, I think all of this acting out that Draymond's doing, it's just a symptom. It's not like meaning that because he's declining and he can't do what he used to be able to do anymore, he acts out more, right? Because in every aspect, right? Like the refs seem to be less tolerant of him than they used to be, right? He can't bully players like the way he used to. It just doesn't work. It's not as effective. And so if he can't just do it on the court with his game, and he was playing well in the games that he was here, so I'm not trying to discredit that, but he can't do a lot of things he used to do before. It doesn't mean that he's not still impactful, but each year that impact's going to become less. And so he acts out. He does things. And I do think that's what it is. But he's so volatile. So how can you really build for a contender and he be an important piece to you being a contender, and he's so volatile? You cannot rely on him. You cannot trust him. It doesn't matter what he tells you. It doesn't matter if he tells you he's learned. and I'm going to be better, you cannot rely on him. You cannot trust him. He will do something almost guaranteed in the heat of the moment. He gets mad. He doesn't think. He is not someone in those moments who thinks through his actions.
You're not wrong. You didn't say a single lie.
Right.
How many more apologies
end of
can there be?
I
So
mean,
it's
that's why
like,
they're in
I
such
don't
a
know.
tough spot. They're in a super tough spot because everything you said is true, but also everybody else in the league knows that too. So who's going to trade for Draymond on $100 million for 4 years? You know, I mean, like maybe there is a team out there, but
No, I
I
hear
just don't
you. I
know.
don't think you can. I don't think you can trade Dre this year. But what I'm saying is, like, he's the path and Clay are the path. I don't know what they get you. I don't know what it is. And that's why I just think you need a real coach in there. You need to find someone who is going to be able to reimagine this team, and not just this team, but reimagine a team with Steph Curry that can win, right? And set that up to win. And my mind is nowhere on the level of yours. I don't know. I don't know the answers. So I'm not saying the answers, but Justin and I have private conversations all the time. And I'm like, I believe there's another way for the Warriors to win without it being so reliant on Draymond Green. I've been saying that.
I do too.
I don't know what it is, but I believe there's a way.
I mean, I think that path could still, like Clay and Draymond, right? There's a path where they're contenders and they don't rely on them as much. There's a path where they don't rely on them as much and they're still there. That's the path that I think is the best path for them forward, right? Like, because like I said, like, and I tweeted this a while ago. If you look at all the teams that's won a championship, you go back, I don't know how many years, you need a bunch of dudes in your playoff rotation that have been there for years. It's just a statistical fact, right? Like the only teams out of your playoff top 8 players in total minutes played that have not been on the team since they were rookies or for the last 3 seasons, it's only been like 2 teams in the last like 10 years that have had less than 5 of those guys on the team, right? The Warriors, every time they won, they had at least 5. It was, I believe it was the Bucks in 2021. That ring is fluke. And it was the Lakers in 2020. That shit was fluke too. I think 2016 Cavs, that shit was fluke. So it needs to be something fluky for you to win other than those circumstances. You need continuity and you need that type of, togetherness. But obviously there's this dynamic at play with the Warriors where guys are past their prime. And then emotionally they're past their prime as well, with Clay kind of like the negative energy that he brings when he can't perform the way he wants to. And then Draymond acting out. That murkies up the waters. But if there's players there in place, or maybe one player there in place that clearly demotes both Clay and Draymond, I think the acting out diminishes, in my opinion. It's nothing.
I don't think it does, because with that comes them accepting a new pecking order. Right. And I will give Clay a chance because he just did this whole very transparent, open kind of speech, right? To see, how he's going to be. I feel like we've had some of that a little from Clay, but not this transparent.
I was going to say open. This.
So this was a little bit more, so we'll see. But with Draymond, the man told KD to his face he's a bitch. Like, I don't believe there's any pecking order that he will ever accept. I don't think there's any. At some point, it's going to always be like, this is my shit. I've been here. Do you know who I am? I don't see him ever humbling himself, right? Because someone new coming in and being the dude realized it requires those guys who were the dudes to step back and take a back seat, right? And that's a little bit easier. And even though he didn't really even though he was like, I'm still getting all my shots, Clay did do that. Like, he understood with KD there, he was third. And it's a little hard not to acknowledge that with like a Kevin Durant. But I tweeted this the other day. I said, is he going to acknowledge that? Like with Pascal Siakam, does he know that Pascal is a better player than him? And like, is he going to understand that and accept that? You bring in Laurie. Does he? I don't think Laurie's.
I don't think Clay.
But I'm just saying.
Yeah, I don't think Klay would have an issue with that. I mean, if you look at this season now, he's taking less shots than he did last season and the season before that. Like, even
But it's
for
not
guys
just
on
not
this
the
team,
shot attempts, but it's the who am I still in this? He's still the second guy, right? Like, even though he's taking shot attempts, he's viewed as like the second guy or whatever. But it's the three of them. There's nobody else on the rosters ahead of them. Is
for
what I'm
sure.
saying.
Yeah, I mean, like you
Whoever
said,
they bring in would have to be ahead of them. And like Dre always knows whoever's there offensively is ahead of him.
yeah,
But he's still Draymond. That's what I'm saying.
yeah. I mean, like you said, when KD came there, Klay adjusted, right? He was still taking the same amount of shots, and I think it will still be the case if whoever they got now, like he'll still take the shots.
But I'm not talking about shots.
I mean, I don't think emotionally they would really care that much to.
It's a mindset of understanding, like, you know, you're really second. Like, you're not second anymore. Like, this person is the higher priority. You can get benched. You're not. That's what I'm saying. Like, and that's why it just needs to be another coach, because Steve Kerr won't do it. He won't do it.
It depends on who that superstar is.
But it's not going to be a fucking superstar. I'm sorry for cursing. It's not going to be. They're not getting any superstars.
Well,
they're not,
right.
And that's what I'm saying. So, but it's going to be a player that's better than him. But what I'm saying is he may not. Klay Thompson in his mind can't look at Kevin Durant and suggest Kevin Durant's not better than him.
I understand what you're saying.
This is like Kobe's Pau Gasol moment, right? Like, he didn't get another Shaq. He got Pau Gasol, who's a very, very, very good player, and they could go do their thing, right? But what I'm saying is, this is not going to be a player who's going to be like we all know they're better than Klay, but I don't know if Klay is going to really know that player is better than him. He might think, I can still.
What does that translate to in your opinion? Like, why would that be an issue? I mean, I don't think that would be the case, but like, what would that lead to make that a problematic thing?
How things happen on the court. If Klay isn't playing well, the need to still keep him in, all the kinds of things that we've seen.
For sure. But I mean, if that player is not a player that plays his position, then I don't think that would be an issue, right? So, I mean, Laurie and Pascal are the two biggest names. They don't play Klay's position. And I don't think either of them played. I mean, Pascal played Draymond's position, but they don't play Draymond's position. Like, Draymond would be the defensive anchor center type of stuff like that. So, I mean, I don't think if they bring in somebody in, I don't think that would be an issue on the court. I don't think it would be a locker room issue really either. I mean, a lot of the Draymond stuff, Jordan was a thing where that was just like, that was something crazy, right?
Crazy like how?
Crazy like he's supposed to be a mentor to Jordan, and he just, did that.
So was Klay. By the way, Klay gets overlooked because of what happened with Draymond, but he was also very marking my territory, not doing what he needed to do to support Jordan as well. So they both did it, right? It's just Klay didn't like punch him, but he was very territorial over his spot, right? And I understand that, but it also that all contributed towards the dysfunction. So it's still carrying out this year.
I think it was a three-way thing, but they're the veterans and they should have behaved better.
A three-way thing. What are you talking about with who? With Steph?
With Jordan as well. I don't think Jordan was completely faultless, other than the fact that he got sucker punched.
He's faultless. If you get punched, you're faultless. And also,
I'm talking about like the whole dynamic between him and Klay and all of that. I'm sure he was putting pressure on him to start.
Of Jordan?
Huh?
What's the part Jordan's not faultless for?
I mean, like they're competitive. They're all competitive players. They're all pros. So the same way Klay is territorial over his spot, Jordan is like, I'm coming for your spot. Instead of saying like, y'all got it, let me just be what y'all need me to be. He's like, no, I need to start. And they were like, yeah,
but that's not what I'm talking about, right? You all want to win together. You need Jordan to win. So mentoring Jordan and taking him under your wing versus not trying to do anything is the better approach. For sure. Like, players wanting to play and ball out and that's normal basketball stuff, right? But if you're gonna like isolate him to the point that it's like it's not helpful towards the team and your development, and and the overall goals of the team, then that's not good, right? And I don't see how Jordan can help that, because the only thing, because then you're asking him to be like a Jonathan commit, not even like a Moody, and just sit there and accept it and never say anything and never try to, like, you know, get ahead. And I understand why Jordan was saying, like, I want to start, because when he was starting, they were playing well, but also they didn't set him up on the bench with the right players to support him. So it hurt him, as we talked about, versus like, I don't think he should have started, but I'm just saying I understand why, because you weren't putting the right pieces around him. I think if Jordan was really thriving as a sixth man, right, like the way some other teams have their sixth man thriving, and they had the right pieces around him, and he was still scoring and getting his and whatever, I think he wouldn't have, I don't think the whole starting thing would have been as big of a deal.
No, I agree. Totally. That's why I said, I mean, the veterans are more so in fault here because they're the older guys, right? They understand, they've been through a lot of this stuff, so they should be the more mature party in this whole thing. But I'm just saying, like, Jordan wasn't completely. He wasn't. Okay.
I haven't heard one thing you said that he did that's wrong. You know, like, act like he's 20 years old. How old is Jordan?
He's like what, 24 now. But when he did play and he wasn't starting, he very clearly played with way less energy. He very clearly, like, on the court, he let that leak onto the court.
But that was in the second year. That wasn't in the first year.
I mean, either way, it's just like,
no, but it matters because his ability to be sort of selfless and all that stuff, that shit got snatched with Draymond. That's what I'm saying. Like, it to me, it was a crazy expectation from everyone that Jordan should still be accepting of things. Remember what happens? He gets punched. Then the team goes to him and says, you decide whether or not what should happen with Draymond. They put the onus on him, right? Mm-hmm. They don't want to suspend Draymond so he can be at ring night. So the entire organization in that moment showed him that they don't have his back, that they don't support him. They weren't even willing to suspend Draymond like they did for KD. So now y'all want him to not let things carry. That's not a realistic expectation of him. You didn't support him in any meaningful way after this guy punched him, and it's circulating all over the internet. Like, any expectation of him now being like, I'm not going to be selfish and I'm not going to be about myself and I'm going to do what goes out the team, that shit goes out the door. That's not going to happen. And that's on them. They got to own that. You can't expect him then to be like, not be moody and not, what does he owe them still? They're not supporting him. They're not having his back. The trust was done then. If they would have suspended Draymond, if they would have like handled that properly, you would have gotten a different Jordan. So the expectation cannot be, that's like, you know, that it's victim blaming. And I always said that. People don't like that because they think of like women and stuff like that. But he was the aggrieved party.
For sure.
And they didn't do what they needed to do. So later when everyone's like, no, he needs to do, no. Like, that's not going to happen because you guys never handled it properly from the beginning. You can't get maturity and you can't get a result that makes sense after when you initially handled it wrong to begin with. And expect that from a guy who's 23, 22, like, that's just not realistic.
So yeah, that's then a Jordan and the org problem and a Jordan and Draymond problem. I don't think there's a Clay thing going on there.
No, there was a Clay thing going on. That's what I'm saying. There definitely was. I'm just saying,
I'm sure there was a competitive thing
out, and it didn't get discussed because it was overshadowed by Draymond, but it was definitely a thing last year. That was a thing too. It just didn't get covered and talked about because everything was Dre. And so Dre, that situation was allowed to kind of cover what was sort of going on with like the way Clay was also behaving. But I'm saying, and by the way, Steph is not great either. Not that he was doing anything wrong to Jordan either, but you know, Steph, because of his leadership style being very like, yeah, you know, he's not as like, you know, he's not a talker like Dre. He doesn't do certain things, right? I got my wife, I got my kids, I'm Steph, I'm a superstar, I have all these other things to take care of. When Dre lost his voice in the locker room, when it became fractured, then he didn't have the ability to be that voice anymore. So that requires Steph to step up and do more. And he's not. So in that part, it's a failing on him too. But that's what I'm saying. Like they gave Jordan like a period of time. It was like, okay, we're gonna give you this little time. And then after like, I don't know, 5, 10, 15, whatever it is, now we expect you to be over it and be mature. And when something like that happens to you, when a trauma like that happens to you, you don't get over it like that quickly, right? That's just not what happens. It's not. And that's like that there's a human side of things. When everyone tells me I'm crazy, you know, I'm like, okay, I didn't want to be right. But like that was totally foreseeable what was going to happen, you know? They mishandled it, mismanaged it. So I just don't see, I don't know about Klay. We'll see how he does. But I do think his ability to embrace his aging, to embrace that there's players better than him on the team, that he's lower on the totem pole. It's more important to know he can embrace those things than anything else. Because if he can't, then it will be a problem. And I don't think he's demonstrated that he can, but he just made these recent statements. So we'll see if he's able to. But his actions to this point has shown us that he struggles with this. And, you know, at the sight of being threatened, he's territorial. And I get it because you want to keep starting, but this is a team that has preached to us how selfless they are, and they want to do anything to win, and they want to, you know, keep doing things, and their actions are in conflict with that. You know, their actions are in conflict with that, right? At some point, you got to say to yourself, okay, I can't do what I used to do, right? Like when Steph was willing to concede his team to KD, right? It didn't happen like that, but he was willing to concede his team to KD so they could win. That's true selflessness. And what I'm saying is the others on the team have never demonstrated an ability to do that. So if you need them to stay.
I mean, they were there too.
But it was Steph's team.
I know what you mean. Right. I'm just saying they have done that to a certain extent.
When
KD was there.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
How?
You said yourself. They took less. Klay takes less shots.
Right? Barely. And he told us straight up that he's like, I'm not, you know, but that's not even the point because it wasn't required then. Those are like minor concessions. This is like a different thing. Steph allowed KD to become the face, not the face because he didn't, but the media talking about stuff like this, Kerr running thing, like it was a different kind of thing that Steph gave up. And what I'm saying is what Dre and Klay will be required to give up. It's a different kind of thing that you're asking for. It's a status. It's like, yes, you're still Klay and Dre, but like we need to bring in someone else, and it needs to really be about Steph and this new person. And y'all are kind of like role players now. That's what I'm saying. And that's a different kind of mindset to wrap your head around. And it does require their buy-in if they're going to be on the team, because if they don't really buy into it, and the moment something happens, Draymond's going to be like, I've been here. I don't need you. You're a bitch. And there's no reason to think that he would not do that because we know for a fucking fact he did it to Kevin Durant. So that's what I'm saying. So, you know, it's just like, people don't have to keep showing me things over and over for me to know who they are. And again, I don't like Klay is not to that degree, but he's naturally, it's understanding. I'm not even saying that he's bad for it, but he's having a very human response to where he is right now in his career. And if he can't embrace it and decide to take on a different role, decide to be like an Andre, a mentor, a cheerleader, whatever it is, if he can't become that person, it won't work. His mental buy-in is more important than anything he can do on the court. That's all I'm saying. And I don't know. For me, it's like the jury's out on Klay. Draymond, I don't believe in. I don't know how much he has to show us things for people to.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, and we won't know until this trade deadline. Let's see what happens.
I mean, either way, I don't think this current roster is going to do anything substantial, so they need to make a move anyway. And I don't think the moves with Clay and Dre involved result in this team being any better position. So they need to move other players. That's just how I feel about it. I don't want to move all the young guys. I would prefer to keep most of them, if not all of them.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also not realistic that you move the other pieces and get something back that you want, like a star level player. So
no, you're not going to get a star level player for them. They're not worth that anymore. But I like combining a young piece with whatever, maybe one of them, and like what however it works. What I'm saying is they have to be open to that to get like the true co-star that you need. You know, I know that Dre, they're not going to be able to move because we know, like right now, what it is. I don't know that it will always be like that, but you're not. But I'm just saying, it's
yeah.
Who are they gonna get? Who are they gonna get?
I don't know. I mean,
that's why we're like, we gotta wait. We don't know.
There's no one at the trade line besides Pascal, unless someone else becomes available.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard you talk like you don't like the Zach LaVine fit.
I don't.
Think, right? I don't really either. Right? And even with Pascal, right? He would be really expensive. And I don't know that what he would cost.
That he's even worth it.
Right. Like to be a number 2. But he's who's available. And they don't have the cap to sign him either. So that deal is a little tricky anyway. But there's Pascal. And then I haven't, they don't have, so like anything they do has to be a trade, but I don't know what other players are going to become available. And I don't know that it's this trade deadline. So we keep saying at the trade deadline, mm-hmm. But because Pascal didn't get traded in December and now it's February, that deal becomes trickier because then it's a rental because he's already said he doesn't want to, right? He doesn't want to sign. So it's a rental. They don't have the ability to sign him outright. So even if they take him on and they feel like it goes well, is bringing Pascal here enough on a rental? Like, do you do that? Do you risk it? Will he make enough of the difference in their season this year for them to win it all? I don't know. But then if they decide they like him, they want to sign him, they're going to have to do a lot to re-sign him. And you're mm-hmm. probably gutting the team in a way that's not necessarily good for the team. So mm-hmm. I don't know that it's really Pascal. So let's take Pascal off the table. Who is it? I don't think Lauri's being traded. It sounds like he wants to stay in Utah and they want to extend him. And Danny Ainge, we saw what he did with the Celtics. He's a maniac. He's going to be asking for all kinds of stuff. So take those 2 obvious names off the table. Who else is there?
You got to look at Cleveland, see what they got going on over there.
Who?
Look at Cleveland.
No,
any of their guys, they blowing that up. Donnie's gone. Jared Allen's probably gone.
Jared Allen, yeah.
There's nobody.
Jared Allen's not a star.
Number 2. There's no one over there who's a number 2. Who?
What do you mean, Donovan Mitchell? I mean, he would be,
but he's not coming to the Bay. Like that's like out of the question. He makes way too much money. So that's not even gonna work. He's 6'1", guys.
Hey, he is.
But he's very strong.
He's not my first choice. But I'm just saying there's other, I mean, he's one of the other potential long shot options.
Yeah, that's super long shot. You got to look at the Nets. But there's, again, no clear-cut number 2. It's just you've got some decent pieces mm-hmm. that you can just add. There's Royce, Dorian. Is Dorian over there?
He is over there.
Yeah.
That's where Andrew Wiggins comes into play because his contract's a lot of money. And I think he's a player that teams will still take.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a salary slot. And you got to use him and combine probably with something to get you a real player.
That's what I'm saying. You said, I mean, these players make a lot of money, but they got the contracts to match.
No, they got the contracts to match, but people got to want them.
For sure. Yeah, ultimately,
Right, but it
That's
doesn't
the
help
whole
that
thing.
Andrew's not having a great season, but he has a reasonable contract. And that's why Clay is really interesting, because I personally think, well, I'm not gonna say what I think, but
She got his bags packed, okay? No, I'm kidding.
no, it's not that. It's not that
Totally
it's
kidding.
not that I even want him gone like that. I'm just saying that Clay's the only person that they can still sign to a contract that gives them the ability to trade someone. So if you sign Clay to a contract that's reasonable, that someone would then be willing to take, because you need the salary to get you a player, right? And I'm not even averse to them trading Draymond. I just don't think anyone is going to take Draymond because he's crazy, right? So volatile, let me say that. I take back crazy. But no, because volatile just means you're up and down. I don't, because crazy is that I don't want to like label him anything, but he's volatile. And so there just would have to be a team that feels like he can add something to them. And I don't know how many teams feel like that, even though he's still a really great defensive player, you know? So he's very, very volatile. So but I feel like there are some teams that would still want Klay Thompson shooting if his contract was on a reasonable price. That's what I'm saying, you know? So it's not so
You're
much
talking about a trade like later on, like a trade in the summer or something.
Right. And so you sign him, and then that
okay.
way you can trade him. I'm not saying that they're going to like sign him and be like, yeah, Clay, it's to trade you. But what I'm saying is, to me, that's going to be Clay or Wiggins are going to, combined with young players, are going to be their best avenue to try to get like a true number two. And I think Steph needs a true number two.
Okay.
That's the stage that I'm at right now. And I'm saying those are the only paths to getting them, because you need contracts. And like the Chris Paul thing only works up until like this trade deadline, you know, because then if not, he's leaving.
Maybe.
You think they're bringing back Chris Paul?
Absolutely not.
Huh?
They might. I mean, they want to trade him. They need to trade him before he expires.
That's why I'm saying this trade deadline. So I'm just like, if they don't do that, then they lose him.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So, but I don't think any Chris Paul trade now with a young player, I think that's going to net you a supplemental piece. I don't think you're getting your second co-star this trade deadline, unless somebody becomes available we're not aware of.
Yeah. That could be the case.
Anyway, I know it's late. I'm sorry. These are good conversations.
Apologize to my 6 a.m. client because I'm not going to be there.
You guys still believe in the Dubs? Like, what can they do this season? Are they going to the playoffs?
They can make a trade.
They going to the playoffs?
Are they going to the playoffs? We'll see once Draymond get back. If he get back and he out of shape, they done. No, I'm just playing. No, they can definitely still make it. I mean, they right there.
They
really
really are. They are right there. And other teams, you know, things start.
Other teams are right there too.
Yeah.
They'll
And they're
in.
losing too and stuff.
If Steph misses another playoffs in his prime, he will be crucified. Y'all know that, right?
He better not.
I mean, it doesn't matter.
Eyes can see what's going on.
What he does.
Yeah, he will be.
It doesn't matter. He will be crucified. I think we're all out on like any idea of this team contending for real. Or no. I don't want to speak for
I still feel like
you're gonna hope for it, of course.
Right.
For sure.
I'm always hopeful.
I'm still hopeful that the Eagles will do something, but I don't think that they are. I'm just saying.
We're not talking football here.
No, but I'm just giving an example.
But yeah, no.
Yeah,
totally kidding. Because you're an Eagles fan. I'm a Kansas City fan, so
Oh yeah, you're still hopeful for Kansas City. Justin is too, because he's like a fake Patrick Mahomes fan.
No, here we go. All the hate.
I'm not a Kansas City fan in any way. They were just playing the Eagles in the Super Bowl, so I wanted the Chiefs to win.
I mean, we already discussed that it's anti-black to be a Patrick Mahomes
No, it's
fan,
not.
but
Wow. Anyway,
it's a joke.
in way.
Yeah.
Back to our Dubs blowing
Yeah,
this game. No,
they'll sneak
but
into the playoffs and win the first round.
And
then we'll
win
see
the
from there.
first round.
They'll do the same. It's gonna be the same shit as last year. They're gonna sneak
No,
in
but
there.
who can they win the first round against? Because if they're at the bottom, you're talking about
Anybody except
Denver.
Denver.
Denver's in the top 3. The Clippers. Right now, the first 4 is Denver, Clippers,
Timberwolves.
They could be OKC. I think I believe
They can be
Wolves
OKC.
probably.
I picked them against anybody except Denver right now.
Which is funny because I think they could beat Denver too.
They can beat Denver, but I wouldn't pick them to beat Denver.
Oh,
this is assuming Draymond is back. And this is assuming they're playing to a reasonable level, close enough to their ceiling. Right, which is a lot to ask at this point. But yeah, I think they could beat anybody in the series. I would pick them against.
And you're saying as is or with a trade?
I'm saying as is.
But we're all expecting a trade.
Yeah. So with the trade, we can, depending on who they get, then we can kind of like adjust. Right.
As the limit.
I mean, I keep holding on to hope. Like, Boston in 2022. I don't know if they were this bad, but they traded for Derek White at the deadline, I think. I'm pretty sure, or before the deadline, and they kind of took off from
which
there.
Which is a better thing I want to ask you. Instead of examining for the co-star, because I don't think the co-star is coming at the trade line. I don't think that's happening.
Oh, I don't think so either.
Who is the supplemental piece? Who's the good? It's another role player. It's a high level guy. It was like OG would have been nice, but they didn't get him. Right. Yeah. So, but it's a supplemental guy. I've heard people say like Kyle Kuzma.
Kuz is a dude where it's like it could go wrong if you bring him in because he could really think he that guy still.
No, I know that, but that's what I'm saying. Like, have you thought of who those guys are that would be potential targets that are not like the number 2, but just another guy to come in and help?
What about Vooch on the Bulls?
Vooch could help. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of trying to think of.
And are you giving up Kuminga for Vooch?
Hell no.
So a guy that you're willing to give Kuminga, I only feel like you're giving up Kuminga for a star.
Yeah, if you're not bringing back a star, you keep Jonathan.
Okay, so you're giving up Chris Paul and who? Moody?
Moody probably got it. Moody's probably going, which is sad.
So Chris Paul and Moody, and who you getting?
What is that? 35 mil? No, that's like 33 mil. That's a good question. Then I got to look around who's available. But as far as just players, I mean, especially considering Gary's health and stuff like that, if you try to go and grab Caruso, I think he's a game-changing role player. If you consolidate the roster,
I didn't agree with you. They were attacking you the other day for wanting Caruso.
Yeah, they were crazy. That was crazy. I mean, like the Caruso thing, I think makes a lot more sense if you have a legit number 2 star. But even still, he's one of the best defensive players in the league, and he shoots like 47% from 3. And he can run a pick and roll as a ball handler. He's just a good player, right? And he's off the Lakers, so we can actually fully appreciate how good he is, right? So, yeah. So Caruso's a guy. He's literally like Derek White. Like he's not as good offensively as Derek White. Probably a little bit better defensively in certain ways.
They're both bald, so
they're both bald. They're both like, little Elmer Fudd's out there.
That's your homework assignment, so we can like actually go through it. No, because people are always asking us like who.
No, yeah, I got you.
And we'll just do our mailbag of questions that we receive. We don't even got to ask them because they're like, who's out there? But I think we have to stop thinking about a number 2 guy and who is like more like role players that they could bring in to come in. It's not going to be the co-star. It's not going to be the number 2. That's if they're going to do that, it's going to be later, I think.
All right,
unless something changes and becomes available. So can you take a look around and see?
I got you.
Okay. All right, guys. It's time to go. Leave it to me to derail the conversation, but it was a good conversation. But there are things that need to be thought about this Warriors team. So thank you for tuning in with us. We appreciate y'all. Kariemah, I love you. Justin, I love you. I know y'all love me and deal with my shit. And we love you guys for tuning in. So make sure you are subscribed to 95.7 The Game's YouTube channel. So anytime the episodes pop up, you'll know if you're subscribed. Make sure you are following us on Twitter, formerly known as X, and Instagram at Golden Spaces Pod. And make sure you're leaving us a positive review and leaving us 5 stars and saying good things. I've been seeing some of y'all little snippy comments sometimes. We don't need those. Justin, you see them too?
Always.
We see them.
You see them. I
We
mean, it's close
appreciate
to
real
responding, but
feedback.
I'm like, dang, you can actually see it's me.
What'd they say?
No, I mean, this close to responding, but I'm like, dang, you can actually see it's me.
I'll be responding. Listen, no, honestly, I don't want to make it seem like we're not open to feedback because we are. You guys have said things to me sometimes and I take it into consideration, but give us constructive shit. Like, don't just be like, you know, that doesn't help us. So thank you for tuning in. We appreciate y'all. Until next time, take care.